Hello, I'm Oliver. This is Deep Cuts, a channel for music lovers, music geeks, and people that just want to find some new music to listen to. I thought I'd jump on the bandwagon today and do a best albums of 2016 so far, because every other fucker's doing it, so I thought, why don't I do it as well? So just without further ado, I'm just going to list the albums that I've enjoyed the most this year so far. So first up's Joey Purp's iiiDrops. Joey Purp's iiDrops. Yet another artist coming out of the rap scene of Chicago. So many at the moment, alongside Chance the Rapper, Vic Mensa, Vince Staples. For my mind, I think Joey Purp with this release might be one of the best releases so far to come out of that scene. I love the production on the record. The horns in the opening track of Morning Sex pretty much had me from the go. It's brash and it's a little bit rough around the edges, but that's what I like about it. And Joey has something to say. He wants to talk about some of the serious issues that go on in where he comes from in Chicago. But it's not just a socially conscious record. There are jokey tracks like Girls and Money and Bitches. I'm really excited to see what he does next. Radiohead and Moonshaped Pool. I mean, how could I not include the follow-up to 2011's King of Limbs? This is a brilliant record. I'm a massive, huge Radiohead fan anyway, so there wasn't a chance this wasn't going to be on here probably. I'm a little bit biased, sorry. This is an interesting follow-up to King of Limbs. A lot of people didn't like the King of Limbs because it was very different. It was textured, rhythmic, wasn't so many bangers. This feels like a more natural progression from In Rainbows. It's quite an introspective record. There's some real dancey numbers as well. I mean, Identikit is without doubt one of the best tracks on the album for me. But then you've got real slow, heart-rending songs like Daydreaming. The first single they released, Burn the Witch, was unlike any Radiohead song ever. You've got those spiky violins and quite an optimistic sound with that deep bass and electronic drums. It's a great record. It really flows lovely. It took me a while to get into it, I'll be honest. It took me a little while longer than some of their other records, but it's in there now. It's in there now. I absolutely love it. Next is Jessy Lanza's Oh No. She's a recording artist who hails from Ontario in Canada. I really enjoyed her debut, Pull My Hair Back, but I did feel at that point she needed to refine her sound a little bit more. And she's definitely done that on this release. Really, this is just pure electro-pop perfection. There's a good number of introspective numbers and future dance floor remix classics, I suppose. It's that kind of intelligent, well-articulated, well-informed pop music that harks back and is informed by R&B, jazz, house, and it uses some of those pieces from those genres subtly without losing its pop roots. So it's a lovely melting pot of sounds and influences. Next up's Car Seat Headrest, Teens of Denial. This is the indie rock release of the year so far. The band takes stock of that DIY lo-fi aesthetic, but packs enough clout in the production to really straddle the line between lo-fi and well-produced. And frontman Will Toledo's obviously a very gifted songwriter. You've got the opening banger Fill the Blank, which is a brilliant rip-roaring opening for a record, and then you've got the 11-minute epic Ballad of Costa Concordia. If you want the taste of the raw youthful energy of this album, just go and listen to the third track, Destroyed by Hippie Powers, and I'm pretty sure that will get you on it. Next up, Kaytranada, 99.9. Kaytranada seems like he's the producer of the moment at the moment. He's collaborating with all of the up-and-coming people. He's done collabs with Chance the Rapper, Vic Mensa, Vince Staples, Anderson .Paak. He's really in the eye of the storm of like creative R&B hip-hop production at the moment. He's like the person to work with. This is a straight-up funky dance album with bright exotic rhythms, four to the floor beats. Check out Breakdance number 1 midway through the album. It's like a Justice throwback. It's definitely a varied release. It's got a lot of varied collaborators. You've got a track with Craig David, and then 3 tracks later you have a track with Badbadnotgood. He's a real appreciator of a lot of different styles of music, which is why he's bringing them all together on his own album. I'm looking forward to seeing what else Kaytranada does in the future. Next up, Juju, the music of Twin Peaks. I was initially a little bit hesitant about this. I'm such a fan of Angelo Badalamenti's original score for Twin Peaks, the greatest TV show of all time. The retool classic tracks have a more sinister tone, turning the classic theme Falling into this ethereal, otherworldly piece complete with tinkling glockenspiel and a pounding bass drum. I personally didn't think it was possible to make Laura Palmer's theme any more sinister and terrifying, but well done Juju, apparently I was wrong. So next up is Death Grips' Bottomless Pit, the batshit crazy group that is Death Grips, produced something that's a little bit more focused and refined this time, going away from some of the insane projects they've done, things like Interview 2016 this year. I mean, that was bizarre, brilliant but bizarre. This is definitely a more refined, focused piece of work. For me personally, the first listen of this album, most of the tracks really fell into place, and you know, some of their other albums like No Love, Deep Web or Jenny Death, it takes a little bit longer to lock into their sound, but this time I found it a lot easier. Maybe that's just because I've listened to too much Death Grips, I don't know. Hothead is like a brash, sweaty mess of a track, but it's cushioned a couple of tracks later alongside the likes of I definitely feel their mainstream appeal will probably rise with this album, which is quite impressive considering the final track on the album ends with the lyrics, "I'll fuck you in half." Now, Aesop Rock, The Impossible Kid. I had no doubt in my mind that this was going to be brilliant follow-up to 2012's Skeleton. His storytelling is standout as always, a highlight probably being I think the second single that he released, Blood Sandwich, about it's like a tribute to his brothers, and it's beautiful, the tiny little details that he evokes, they really bring it alive. He does not get enough credit. In a genre where there's so many narcissistic, pointless impersonators, he is just a level above. It's definitely more lyrically accessible than some of his earlier work. I mean, I think I spent most of 2012 on Rap Genius trying to work out what the fuck Zero Dark 30 was even about. But it's a lot easier to catch on, and I think he did a Facebook post not long after it was released, briefly talking about what each track was, so that obviously helped. Thanks, Ace. Cheers. David Bowie's Blackstar. It's an undeniable classic, and not just because of the tragic circumstances that surrounded the release. The dark, jazz-influenced instrumentation and the vibrant songwriting would have stood out in Bowie's discography regardless of whether this had been his final album or not. Still, you can't deny an added layer of otherworldliness when you listen to him sing "Look Up, I'm in Heaven" on Lazarus. It's a really bizarre thing. For this album, Bowie collaborated with a new band from New York, and it feels like it really invigorated his sound and his songwriting process. I guess I'm just sad we don't get to hear more of what they could have had in store together, but we are left with something what I believe to be a complete and utter classic. It's beautiful. There's not a note wrong in this album. Last up, Badbadnotgood 4. The album's called 4. Not my fourth album, this is my last album. It's called 4. Badbadnotgood are probably the best jazz, experimental, instrumental hip-hop group you've never listened to. These guys always make for an intriguing listen. This time they're collaborating with people like Mick Jenkins, Kaytranada, and Colin Stetson, among others. This album's something you can really get stuck into. There's so much to discover there, be it dark hip-hop grooves of Lavender, or the borderline cheesy organ sounds on Speaking Gently. It's exciting to see musicians with this level of talent coming in and doing interesting collaborations with more mainstream artists. The whole thing makes for a really tasty melting pot. I said melting pot twice in this video, I'm aware of that. Deal with it. Also, drummer Alex Sawinski's beats are so infectious. Makes me want to just dance. They're really playful and they definitely propel the tracks. There you go. They're the records I think you should check out. The best records I've heard so far in 2016. I know that it's going to change towards the end of the year. I mean, it's only a few days ago that Dev Hynes' Blood Orange dropped his new album, which so far is definitely getting up there for me. There's albums that I haven't checked out as much yet, like Anderson .Paak's Malibu. There's a couple of other albums that I really want to get into, so I'm sure by the end of the year this list will have changed a lot. But so far, a great year. Check them out. Thanks for watching the video. Please comment, subscribe, argue with me, tell me my opinion, shit. Do whatever you want to do. Thanks a lot.